Ars Libri is an everyman's journey, book by book, through Western literature. We read, retell, and reclaim our rich heritage. This episode, we're going to look at a man named Isaac Azimov. He was a science fiction writer. First, I want you to listen to an interview he gave.
That one great advantage of science fiction is to introduce the reader to the idea of changes that may well be inevitable, but which are not conceivable to the reader.
Well, I've said that myself on different times. The fact is that society is always changing, but the rate of change has been accelerating all through history for a variety of reasons. One thing, change is cumulative. The very changes you make it easier to make further changes. It was only with the coming of the Industrial Revolution that the rate of change became fast enough to be visible in a single lifetime, so that people were suddenly aware that not only were things changing, but they would continue to change after they died. And that was when science fiction came into being, as opposed to fantasy and adventure tales. Because people knew that they would die before they could see the changes that would happen in the next century, so it would be nice to imagine what they might be. And other people decided to make money that way. Well, as time goes on and the rate of change still continues to accelerate, it becomes more and more important to adjust what you do today with the fact of change in the future. It's ridiculous to make your plans now on the assumption that things will continue as they are now. You have to assume that if something you're doing is going to reach fruition in 10 years, that in those 10 years, changes may take place, and perhaps what you're doing will have no meaning then. So that nowadays, futurism has become an important part of thinking in business, in economics, in politics, in military affairs. At any rate, science fiction is important because it fights the natural notion that people would have that somehow there's something about things the way they are right now which are permanent.
One of the main reasons I showed that interview is Isaac Azimov is not just some random dude who wrote a sci-fi novel. He's not just somebody who was able to write a story. He actually put some thought behind this. He had a philosophy about technology, about the future, about progress. Whether or not he's right is a different matter. I don't know if I agree with everything. The rate of change, it seems like at our point, the rate of change has kind of slowed down technologically. There's not a new invention every year that revolutionizes our lives. Rather, there's like a nostalgic longing to go back to a simpler time. I think that maybe have always been the case, but...
What he was saying in the video and what you've just said, the idea that he was more of a philosopher rather than just a science fiction writer, that's always been the appeal to me. I've never been very interested in gadgets and the technicalities of that, but I do love the thought or the concept that goes into the book, and that's clear with the book that I read of his, Foundation. The writing itself is very average, but it's the big idea that keeps you going, that hooks you in the book.
Yeah, and the book that I read, I, Robot, shows the same thing. The storyline is very bland. It's almost not a story. It reminds me of some of the philosophical writings, like from Plato, where two men go walking down a road, and then one turns to the other and says, and then 400 pages later, and then they finish their walk. And that's the story, and really it's just a philosophical treatise. I, Robot is essentially 10 or 9 different thought experiments about how robots, especially in today's world with AI, which he didn't expressly see, but he foresaw. The idea of robots going wrong or operating by a certain set of laws, which he made up, by the way. He actually made up these laws for robots. The 3 laws of the robots are: a robot may not harm a human through action or inaction, or allow a human to come to harm. A robot must obey all the orders given it by a human except where it violates the first law. And the third law is that a robot must protect its own existence as long as it does, as such protection doesn't conflict with the first or second law. And he explores through different thought experiments how robots in the future, who are sort of semi-thinking beings, essentially AI, how they go wrong and how to fix them. And it's beyond merely circuitry fixing and reprogramming. It's psychology, which is interesting. None of the fixes in the stories, how to fix the robots, come about through technical means. It's all through psychological, ethical dilemmas, putting the robot in a different situation so that it begins to think differently again, properly.
That's good, because the foundation, it applies a lot of the same things. It's the psychology of what happens when a galactic empire is failing. He even invented a term, he calls it psychohistory. And so he applies psychohistorical methods to coming up with a solution to the empire. So those are the kinds of things that I find interesting in science fiction.
All right, so tell me the story of Foundations. This is book one. There's several books.
Yes.
You read book one, right?
I believe it's a trilogy.
Trilogy.
At least.
Yeah. So tell me the story of Foundations.
Okay. The book begins with the gradual decline of a galactic empire several thousand years in the future. So this is an empire that has been formed, I think it's 12,000 years old. It's so far distant that people don't actually know which is the planet of origin. There's debate about this. And that's become the new form of archaeology. It's like, which is, have you looked into the origins question? You know,
Wow.
It's interesting. The book does not follow one main character, really. It's episodic, unless you consider Harry Seldon. He actually dies at the very beginning of the book, but he is the sort of prophet upon which the whole narrative is based. And he actually comes back in holographic displays and will give them instructions every now and then. So he is the thread that keeps everything together, and all of the characters which do arise are following in Seldon's footsteps on his path. So he has basically projected a future for the empire. As it's falling, he's saying it's going to lead to 30,000 years of darkness and barbarism. However, if you follow this plan, we can crunch that period into just 1,000 years before a new empire is built.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me because Google and Wikipedia are kind of founded on this philosophy. So if people reading sci-fi think, or people considering sci-fi are thinking, Isaac Azimov, the story's boring, I'm not really into sci-fi. Wait a second. One of the most powerful and wealthy corporations in America today, or in the world today, is Google. It's called Alphabet, I think. And they're in like the top 10 in the world of like, I don't know how many hundreds of billions or maybe close to $1 trillion that they're worth. And they have based their company on this philosophy of preserving all of the collective knowledge of humanity. And they've digitized all the books and preserving basically all human knowledge. That's exactly what the main character, Harry Seldon, does. He sees that the collapse of the empire, the galactic empire, hundreds of billions of people at this point, and if civilization collapses, then so does the knowledge that needs to be passed on to rebuild it. And so the initial goal, not the whole goal, but the initial goal of his program is to create a galactic encyclopedia, a Galactica encyclopedia or something like that. And that's exactly what one guy tried to create. Wikipedia was that model. But another guy, Vox Day, essentially created Info Galactica, which now Elon Musk has taken that even further and created his own. Nobody credits Vox Day, by the way, because he's this fringe guy that's kind of egotistical. To be fair, he is. And he does his own thing. And you can only subscribe to it, I think, to access it or something. But he's like forked Wikipedia in order to create his own Info Galactica, which is basically the same name, almost the same name as Harry Seldon's Encyclopedia Galactica. All human knowledge is going to be compiled into this one thing so that we can preserve civilization. And I've always found this fascinating. Whenever things are collapsing, like in a war, think of the world wars or something, or the collapse of Rome or something, there are always people who think we have to preserve what we can in this environment. And so they go around and make copies of the books and send them to the furthest extents of the empire.
Right,
everywhere.
like the monks of the Middle Ages.
Like the monks. Mm-hmm. There's a book by, I'm forgetting the guy's name, it's called How the Irish Saved Civilization.
Yeah.
And these Irish monks during the Middle Ages preserved ancient civilization and Roman civilization by copying the books.
You know, it's interesting you brought up Elon Musk, because I've seen this a few times where you can tell that people today read science fiction based on the names they give things or the things that they do, like Grok.
Yeah.
That comes from a science fiction novel.
Right.
My dad actually, I had read it, but my dad pointed that out to me.
Mm-hmm. What's it come from?
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who wrote it,
yeah.
but that's what it comes from. So these men who are leading in science and innovation, they've read science fiction.
Right.
You know, it's what he was saying in the interview.
Yeah.
They're predicting change and they're meeting it.
Right.
And they're producing it.
I think people imagine sci-fi as something like Star Wars, where it's action-packed adventure that doesn't really make you think. I'm not saying that Star Wars doesn't make you think. I'm saying it just appeals to the popular mind. But really the best of sci-fi, the stories may or may not be good at all, but it makes you think about the future. Like Isaac Azimov in that interview said, things are changing. For the first time in human history, things are changing. Mm-hmm. We live in an era of change rather than a settled way of life. And the change is increasing at such a rate that things will change 4 or 5 times in my lifetime, to where we now have each generation doesn't even understand each other, because the era of the world that each generation grew up in doesn't even live in the same world that the previous one grew up in.
That's a really good point.
Like the dating environment, for instance, today is completely different than when you and I met just a short while ago. And it wasn't that long. And it's completely different to how when your parents met or my parents met. Absolutely wildly different. Mm-hmm. The way we make money today, the way we fight wars today, it's changing so fast that it makes you wonder what's coming next. And people who write sci-fi, at least the better ones, really tried to imagine that. And Isaac Azimov is essentially writing AI level deep thought about what it would be like to live among AI robots. Mm-hmm. So far ahead of his time that even today there are movies still made about this. There's iRobot with Will Smith and Shia LaBeouf. It was filmed over 10 years ago now. And it's just based on one of the episodes in his book where the robots get out of control and do their own thing and there's a war. That's towards the end, but it's not even that dramatic in the book. But my point is, he was thinking about this in the future. And if you think, oh, well, we don't have robots today. Actually, there is a company called NEO, N-E-O, that are making humanoid robots, and I'll play that for you here.
My name is Bernd, and today we're launching NEO, our humanoid for the home.
NEO, the robot, Nene.
Let you live with it.
Yeah.
You're just not telling me? Well, what does it do?
Like my chores. I just leave and I come back and they're all done.
Are you kidding me?
No.
This all started a decade ago, working really hard on making what is NEO a reality. But to me personally, this started when I was like 10 years old. I grew up reading these beautiful books and watching these beautiful sci-fi movies where the future was all about how we as humans, we really focus on the things that matter to us. Rosie the robot would be ensuring family had time, or Data would help humanity explore the galaxy. And I really hope that when you get your NEO now, we can help give you back some of that time so you can really spend it on what you feel is very meaningful to you.
NEO is a humanoid companion designed to transform your life at home. It combines AI and advanced hardware to help with daily chores and bring intelligence into your everyday life. NEO was engineered from the ground up for safety. Its tendon-driven body is quiet and lightweight. Its low-energy motions make it uniquely safe for you and your home. But safe doesn't mean limited. NEO's hardware comes packed with features like human-level dexterity and a 55-pound carrying capacity so that it can handle any of your chores reliably. We also worked really hard to make NEO's design friendly and comfortable to be around. Each NEO comes with a machine-washable knit suit, a head, and shoes that you can customize to fit your style. As for using your NEO, we made the experience simple. Out of the box, the core of your experience is fully autonomous. The Chores feature lets you schedule a time for your Neo to do all of your chores so you can come back to a cleaner home every day. With the AI Companion feature, you can talk to your Neo to get assistance with anything from a hard question to a household task. With Neo's autonomy, you can get access to all of its latest AI features to get help with tasks on demand. And the Neo app lets you interact with your Neo from anywhere. But all you have to do to get started is turn on your Neo and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Neo. I'm here to help around the house. What's your name?
Harry.
Nice to meet you, Harry. When you have a question or want something done, just let me know.
We built the Chores feature to give you your time back. You give your Neo a list of chores, you schedule a time that you want them done so that you can focus on what matters to you while your Neo does the rest. You can schedule chores by either talking to your Neo or using the app. The way it works is you schedule a time that works best for you, and then you create a list of chores. Whether it's something more specific, like watering the plants on Tuesdays, or something more general, like tidying the house, your Neo will get it done at the scheduled time. If there are any chores that your Neo hasn't learned how to do autonomously, you can use expert mode to have an expert from 1X supervise the session and provide corrective intervention to help Neo complete any task.
I can't seem to find my glasses. Is this paprika?
No, that's cayenne pepper. Also, your glasses are on your shirt.
Could I use this in my chili?
They're both made from chili peppers, and you could put cayenne in your chili, but it is much spicier.
Neo is a speech-enabled AI companion made for any kind of conversation. Where other AI assistants are confined to your phone or computer, Neo lives with you in your physical space and has the ability to see, hear, and remember things about your surrounding environment to provide you with uniquely helpful assistance. For example, it can suggest what to cook based on what you have in the fridge, remember your progress while teaching you a new language, and even give you interior design advice. The gestures and the light rings express Neo's intentions. Its audio intelligence can also pick up on whether you are addressing it or someone else in the room to decide if it should respond or not. As you might expect from a home robot, talking to Neo with natural language is the primary user interface for all of Neo's functionality, including autonomy.
Neo, and you can buy one now, today, for $20,000. It's essentially a live-in servant. They made it shorter than humans, they fully clothed it, or they put cloth over it to make it look nice and soft. And it's basically your servant. You can afford servants. Can you imagine rewriting Jane Austen?
Oh my goodness.
And instead of having male servants and female servants, it's just a bunch of robots doing things. You could have like 50 of these. How wealthy would you be? Each of them are $20,000. But that's the idea. We are living in an era. We have robots now. So people think, robots, Isaac Azimov is writing about robots in the future. No, that's now. Now. You can have robots in your house now. We're fighting drone warfare now. Robots are flying around, killing people on the battlefield. And so basically the era of the soldier is kind of over. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was talking with my children. We were going over physical science, and the idea of power was the lesson today. Machines have more power than humans. A tractor has more power. A car has more power than humans. The work I'd have to do, the power I have, is way less. I'd have to work for longer than the tractor to pick up a bunch of dirt or something. And then I said, this is a good thing in many ways because it makes our lives easier. This thing can do more work than us. And I said, think about farming. It used to be that you needed hundreds of hands, like in Anna Karenina, Konstantin Levin has a bunch of servants living on his land who farmed land. We have tractors today, and you don't need all those humans anymore. We don't need slaves anymore. So even if someone wanted, for some weird reason, wanted to bring back slavery, you don't need slaves anymore. We have machines, we have electricity, we have indoor plumbing, we have tractors, cars that do the work for us. And now we actually have robots that do the work for us. We're moving increasingly towards a society kind of like WALL-E, where
oh dear,
humans don't have to do anything. And I think it's strange, it's weird, it's probably not good in many ways, but it'd be easy though to envision a future where humans don't have to work. So people who propose things like universal basic income, UBI, it's a very socialist idea, and a lot of the independent-minded people, the freedom-minded people don't like it. because it makes us dependent, it makes us so. But if you just extrapolate what's happening today with technology, we already have a situation where I don't need 12 children to help me work the farm.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live on a farm. Living on a farm today is a choice. Like, you're actually choosing to go live a hard lifestyle when you don't have to. You can go live in the city and work a white collar job and have somebody bring you food from somewhere, and the machines take care of it. They run on GPS. One guy operates like 50 of them on like a 10,000 acre farm because of the machines. Well, you could just imagine a future where there's very little human interaction at all with the world of physical labor.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it sounds crazy, but it's all there. All the stuff is there. And sci-fi just imagines what that looks like into the future. Isaac Azimov was one of the first guys to do this with technology and machines explicitly. So tell me more, sorry, I'm going on, but tell me more about Foundations, then we'll get into iRobot.
Okay. Well, it turns out that the plan for the encyclopedia is largely a cover for Harry Seldon's ultimate plan, which is what I already mentioned, to save the Galactic Empire from 30,000 years and reduce that time. However, to do this is a bit tricky because he cannot give explicit instructions. He can only give generalities and hints as to various crises that will arise, because if we are assuming the principles of psychohistory, to do that, to give clear information, would distort the outcome. So basically, each character of the book who follows Seldon has to just believe what he's saying. And there is one principle that unites all of their actions. So the principle that each one follows is that at each crisis which arises, which come to be called as a Seldon crisis, at each one that comes, the freedom of action will be circumscribed to the point where only one course of action is possible. So basically the plan is to do nothing until there's only one thing left to do. So this is how they will stay on track throughout the 1,000 years, is do not act until there's only one thing to do. And that inevitably is what will keep you on track. And he has predicted this series of events with his amazing psycho-historical abilities. And so that's the plan. And that's what happens. And so each episode in the book is a new Seldon crisis. And so we see how it resolves.
Okay. So it goes from crisis to crisis.
Exactly.
And then there's one course of action and they take it.
Right. And it changes characters each time. So you don't really get attached to one character in particular, which makes it more difficult to read the book. It's a little bit tangled at first. But the first crisis is based on a planet called Terminus, which is where the Foundation is set up. The Foundation is what Harry Seldon has started in order to keep humanity on track. So the focus of the book is on the periphery of the Galactic Empire. The Empire, its center, is obviously the middle of the galaxy, but he focuses on what's called the periphery, and that's where this first crisis occurs. And it's more a political crisis. And so one man assumes power, and he is the one most devoted to Harry Seldon's cause.
Okay.
And so because of him, he almost becomes a prophet also later in the book, because he was the one that was so devoted and he keeps everyone on track. The next crisis is one of religion. The original man who at the first crisis was part of starting a religion of the Foundation.
Okay.
So Harry Seldon really does become a prophet of a religion.
Yeah.
It's a religion of science. And what's interesting about this book is that at the center of the whole thing is the power of nucleics. That's what he's calling it. And it's just nuclear power as the basis and as the source of all energy and trade and everything, like little gadgets like flashlights to big force shields and things like that. Nucleics is the basis of everything.
Okay.
And so it's also the basis of the religion. And only priests trained on the Foundation planet Terminus, have the knowledge of how nucleics work. And so they kind of have a monopoly on this. And the religion begins to spread out to the other planets. And this is how this one small planet begins to take control over the whole empire.
I see.
By religion. By the time the next crisis comes around, the religion doesn't have quite as much power. The religion aspect has kind of died down. So just like Asimov was saying in the interview, change must happen. We have to prepare for that. So religion worked for, I don't know, 100 years, but now something else is going to work. And it turns out it's economics, it's trade, it's money.
Right.
Money power is now the new force of change. And that follows probably the most interesting character in the book for the longest amount of time. His name is Hober Mallow, and he's a sort of master trader. And it follows him and his rise to basically become master of the foundation. But each man who comes to power stays on the track set out by Harry Seldon. And so the book ends really knowing that that all of the people in the book, they've stayed on track. They've been kept on track. So they're hopefully going to be avoiding the 30,000 years of darkness.
It's interesting that his new civilization that he's creating, which is what he's doing essentially, creating his new civilization, not just preserving knowledge anymore, but actually moving forward with rebuilding something. It's interesting the stages that it goes through. It goes from this project to preserve knowledge to a religion to an economic, scientific, technological superpower. I'm just thinking about the development of societies, like the theory of how societies develop. It starts with this tribal hunter group. This is the idea. It starts with Abraham, goat herding, and it turns into hundreds of thousands of people who fight and take their own land, and then suddenly they have kings and glory and everything, and then, or maybe Rome even. It's Romulus and Remus, and they are just digging a little ditch to make a wall, and then before you know it, they fight their enemies and get bigger and it turns into a kingdom, then a republic, then an empire, and then it begins to collapse. So, the religion aspect too, though, at first, they're the religious rites. Numa Pompilius was the king who established religion for Rome, and it was deeply religious for a while, and then it became this military economic superpower. And the religion is sort of like this thing that's not a big deal anymore. In fact, you can actually worship the emperor himself now. He's the god. No longer is it Zeus or Jupiter or whoever. So religion kind of falls back as technological progress goes forward. I think people have said this about the Puritans, for instance, that the first generation was devout to God, and the second generation forgot God but kept the morals, and the third generation forgot the morals but just kept the sort of do-gooder zeal of going into other people's business and fixing their problems for them, that kind of thing. So, you become prosperous when religion unites you in some kind of single-minded devotion towards something. You all act in a certain direction and it becomes successful, but then that success makes you forget the religion, and now you're just an economic superpower imposing yourself on others, or a technological superpower. I was thinking about this too with education today. 100% of education today, unless you're in some really, really homeschool, classical school situation where there's also something else, but almost all of education today is teaching kids techniques.
Right.
To manipulate data and machines and chemicals or whatever with techniques. This is how you manipulate math, variables. For like 12 years, it's not like you'd never get that much instruction in virtue, for instance. Intense instruction 5 days a week for an hour and a half each day in virtue. Or even like martial prowess. I mean, people who play sports, I don't think they practice every single day. But we do teach technical management skills, techniques, manipulation, technology, data processing, logic games. We're basically teaching people to be good technics. I don't know how else to say it. There's a book by Oswald Spengler called Man and Technics.
Okay.
And he said in the modern age, we've all become technical manipulators of bits of data or matter. And that's essentially where we're not in the stage anymore where we educate people for virtue like we used to. Education used to be an education in the humanities primarily because you're being trained to be a noble man or an accomplished woman, a finished woman. But that's not what we do anymore. We're beyond that stage in our civilization of the religious virtuous stage.
Right.
We're in the techniques, the economic, mercantile, superpower, military stage.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going through in his book.
Right. Right. And then after Mallow comes to power, someone asks him about the future. And he says, what business of mine is the future? No doubt Selden has foreseen it and prepared against it. There will be other crises in the time to come when money power has become as dead a force as religion is now. Let my successor solve those new problems as I have solved the one of today.
Yeah.
So perhaps it will be violence or war power.
Right.
We're not sure. Apparently he might pick that up in the next book, but he does just leave it open at the end.
Yeah, they see the end, the founders of this, and probably because they preserved all that knowledge, they were able to see the cycles of things and to kind of know where you are in your era, in your period.
He does have a mantra, though, that the characters repeat several times, which is violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. So he does try to keep it from being violent because violence is the most volatile. As far as psychohistory speaks, it has the most potential to get everything off track, plunge humanity into barbarism, or just be wildly different results. And so he's trying to preach and teach, avoid violence.
Yeah.
It's what people resort to when they don't have a better plan, is what he's saying.
Yeah, violence is the last resort, I guess. Nobody plans on doing that first. At least civilized people don't plan on doing that first.
Yeah, he's saying only the power hungry and the simple are like, well, violence, let's just go to war. That'll solve it. He's saying no.
But that's what's often overthrown empires.
Right.
The invading Goths, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and things, the Mongols, or Muslims coming in the Middle Ages. You have this civilizational idea of, we're not going to do that, but then another party says, oh, yes, we are, and overthrows your plans. For parley, for dialogue, for debate, for mercantile, economic exchange. No, we don't want any of that. We just want to come conquer you.
Yeah.
And they're more hardy in that sense. It's like weeds are more hardy than the beautiful plant, the beautiful flower plant.
Right.
The weed will be the first thing to grow in the spring and the last thing to stop growing in the fall or the winter. But the beautiful flower, the cultivar, essentially, that thing, it's very, very, very difficult to grow. It needs fertilizer and water and the right amount of sun, it's on the wrong side of the house, it's on the right side. It's extremely difficult to build a civilization. It's extremely difficult to build a virtuous people. It's easy to build a warlike people who are extremely hardy and can withstand all of the harsh realities of living outside of civilization.
You're making me think of the Mongols and Genghis Khan. The way they lived before was exactly what you're saying, but it took a great man to actually build the civilization that he did later. Well, there's one more interesting thing about this book that I wanted to bring up. There is a total of 1 female character.
Oh, really?
In the entire book.
Wow.
1. And what was interesting, I find it, like, it took me a while to realize that. I'm reading the book and I'm like, there's no like attractive secretary, or there's no even more unsavory perhaps role. Like, they were absent entirely until you get to one planet. And the author almost has to introduce a woman because jewelry is involved. And so there's like a wife, but that is it. I found that so interesting because it's a world driven by force, by power, by intelligence, by strategy. It's very much a man's world. And it was a bit refreshing, actually, to not be bombarded by non-essential characters for the sake of being inclusive and nice to women and everything. But like, there was really no place for a woman in the story.
Right.
They were unnecessary. Even the one that's there, she's only there to serve the plot briefly, and then she's done. So I found that interesting.
People have praised Tolkien for writing an adventure story, The Hobbit, and there's 0 women involved. It's not that women shouldn't be involved or something, it's that in modern storytelling, which is dominated by the film industry, no matter what the story is, they just throw in this romance.
Or a sidekick lady who can beat everybody up.
Equally impossible. The romance is equally impossible. And then this woman sidekick is also, it's like, why is this here? This is here to attract the other half of the demographic to come buy a movie ticket or buy the book or something.
Right.
It doesn't actually further the plot.
And I like that because he did not care. He was trying to communicate an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't need to introduce all of those extra things to get more people to buy the book.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, Foundations sounds great. I only read a little bit of it because I was reading iRobot. iRobot is a collection of 10 tales. I wouldn't call them tales. It's more like thought experiments, really. And it goes through the theme of robots and the 3 laws that I mentioned. I did not find this good reading. The stories are extremely bland and unadorned, but I could see why the sci-fi tech bro community really, really likes this book. And they do, by the way. This is a foundational book because it discusses the laws that robots must abide by, and it's very logical. I already mentioned them before, but I'll just say them again. There's 3. The robots may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. 2, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders conflict with the first law. 3, a robot must protect its own existence so long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. So these are the laws, and each story goes through some conflict with the laws. So it's basically an ethical, moral dilemma for robots. And again, this may seem like it's far-fetched, but these robots are very near us now. And AI is all around us. In fact, I think AI, at the current time, this is November, December, January, when this will be released, we're recording it. AI is currently the biggest market going right now. Countries all over the world are dumping hundreds of billions of dollars into it. It's literally driving the boost in the markets. We're having a boom, an AI boom right now, globally. Countries are investing in it. The biggest companies in the world are the ones that are inventing, developing AI right now. That's it. And basically, what is AI? The same thing as a thinking robot in this book. And what laws are they going to abide? People are always aware of this issue. What if the AI wants to take over and do its own thing? Like the movie The Matrix, when the robots look after their own interest. The movie The Matrix, filmed in 1999, basically the plot is that
they're robots?
Long ago, there was a war between the robots and the humans. The machines. They call them the machines, but they're thinking machines. They're acting machines. They move about and do for themselves.
Androids.
They're robots,
They look like
androids,
people.
cyborgs. I don't know what that's basically
Okay.
machines that think.
That's why
Okay,
they-
that's essentially AI right now is just the thinking part without the machine part. As soon as that thinking part gets put into a machine that can function, you've got exactly that situation. And those laws begin to apply, except in the movie The Matrix, the laws didn't apply because the machine started acting in their own self-interest. The 3rd law of Isaac Azimov says you have to protect yourself. The machine has to protect itself. It has to look out for its own existence, except where that existence violates the first 2 laws: to protect humans, never allow them to come to harm, and to obey the orders of humans. But what happens if somehow those first 2 laws get short-circuited or overridden? One of the stories in this iRobot book is that each law has weight to it. So there may be a human can get a paper cut. Well, that's harm. And if I don't do anything, the human's going to get a paper cut. But if I do help him, I'm going to die. Well, what's more important, the human getting harmed by a paper cut or me dying? Like, it seems like the paper cut, you'll live. I'm going to try to save myself in this situation. And so the robot goes to enact the 3rd law, overriding the first law. So there's this weight to it. And anyway, in the movie The Matrix, for some reason, there was a war between the robots, the machines, and the humans. And the humans tried to blot out the sun, which is the primary fuel source, the energy source of the robots. But nobody really knows who did it first. But anyway, the robots ended up capturing the humans and putting them in little incubators and growing them and using humans as fuel. And the humans are taken care of. Hey, you're taken care of. You're not harmed. You're in a little tub and you get all the nutrition you need, and they plug you into this mind thing, the Matrix, where you basically live a fulfilling life and you're happy. So you're being taken, you're in the safest place you can ever be.
We live in a simulation in the Matrix.
In the
basically.
Matrix, yeah. But you're taken care of. So the first law, they're actually obeying the first law. They're making sure you never come to harm. And that's what the movie I, Robot does better than I think the book. The last story in the book, there's an inevitable conflict. And the computers, the robots, and the humans come into a conflict. But the movie is basically all conflict. The first law is never let humans come to harm. Well, what if the air is dangerous outside? Let's say, there's an air quality index, which sounds ridiculous, but let's say it's at 5. And you go outside, but everybody has a robot now. One of those robots from Neo that I showed you. And the robot says, I'm sorry, I can't allow you to go outside today because the air quality index says it's bad. What if we all had robots, AI thinking robots during the era of COVID?
Oh.
You can't go outside, you'll be harmed. Or if you're in the house and you and I go to sit on the couch next to each other for evening devotions or something, or at dinner, and the robot comes and says, I can't let you be next to your children because the protocols say 6 feet distance.
Okay, that's freaky.
Yeah.
We're not getting robots. We're getting
corporate HR in our house. You're getting longhoused.
And who knows, they could
house.
reprogram it with whatever they wanted.
Look, I've told you before that I actually like the technology of the electric engine in cars. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I've said this many times, it's a simpler engine than the combustion engine. It's more powerful. The torque is instant. The curve of torque, it doesn't shift. It's beautiful. It's simple. I like it. There's less parts to break. However, all electric vehicles today are coming directly wired and connected to HR corporate headquarters in Cincinnati or Bangladesh or some weird place. I don't want to buy a Tesla because Elon Musk or the next person, I mean, he's cool right now, but the next person, they can control my vehicle. They can literally drive it off. They can turn it off while I'm driving it. If I have a bad social credit score, if I say something wrong on social media, this could all be changed in a second. You're basically controlling, and that's the same thing with these robots. If they give everybody a robot, I saw this with a Roku. I think it's called a Roku, maybe Roomba, the little thing that goes around your house and cleans. This guy had found that his Roomba had sent like 600 gigabytes of data or something over the course of several months. It had sent it out because he could trace it through his Wi-Fi. His Wi-Fi had shown that something with an IP address of this, which he traced it back to his Roomba. His Roomba had basically sent a map of his house to some people who had hacked his thing or whatever. I don't know. Basically, the robot vacuum cleaner is sending data of how your house is arranged. Of course, I mean, who really cares? But I don't know. Nobody should know that, right?
Yeah.
The same thing happened recently with, there's smart beds. I told you about this. There's smart beds. There are smart washer and dryers. And I saw that there was an AWS outage, which is basically the cloud storage for all people who use clouds, everywhere. It's Amazon controls everybody's cloud storage, even the federal government's cloud storage. Well, that went down for a whole day. And somebody noted that their bed didn't work. Their bed, they have a smart bed, and you can't even go to sleep now unless Amazon allows you to sleep. And you have to pay a monthly subscription. And he saw that his data usage had gone down, and he posted a screenshot of it. But other people commented and said, wait a second, your smart bed sends 6 gigs of data a month to the manufacturer. What is this? What kind of data is this?
That's insane.
It knows your body type. It knows your shape, your size, your sleeping habits. It can tell so much about your health.
Temperature.
Maybe your nighttime activities. It's all sending back every smart thing you put in your house. It's just running roughshod over Isaac Azimov's laws here. But even if it obeyed them, Isaac Azimov is talking about in iRobot how they can go wrong. Even if there's the best of intentions, even if all of this isn't being run to control you or to exploit you. They're actually there to help you. This stuff can still go bad after all of that.
So, okay, that's interesting because in Foundation, Nucleics has that sort of a function in the household, like a smart washer and dryer, all of these things, but it doesn't have that element. Nobody is sending data elsewhere. It just becomes a tool like electricity. Like, well, we can turn it off. We can keep it from working.
Yeah.
But there's not this really insidious aspect of collecting and harvesting that's going on with all of the smart applications we have today.
Collecting and harvesting data and sending it off. If any web service is free, the real cost is your data. It's being transmitted to all these corporations who pay lots of money for it and filter it in order to put products in front of you to make you buy them. That's what it is. Free Gmail, free whatever, you're paying for it through data harvesting. Your data. And this is why, by the way, I have bought this old car. This is not the only reason, but I bought an old vehicle, I fixed it up. It does not track me. It doesn't ding at me. I removed the little blinking lights that blink at me. I took out the ABS.
Took out the seat belts. No, I'm just kidding.
The seat belts are still there. I took out the ABS though, and I took out that light. But it doesn't track me. I bought a Toyota Tundra, a new one, a few years ago. And the first thing I did when I got in it, the dealer came and he was like, hey, let me hook your phone up to it. And basically, that your phone is connected to this thing and all your apps and data, everything about you. But even if you don't do that, you bought the car, you're registered to the car, Toyota can track that car. It's basically their car. It's their car. And they track the car and they know where it's going and how fast. If it's parked in front of Home Depot every Tuesday, they know that you are a home builder. You're a construction guy. Maybe you're a blue collar guy who likes country music and boots and bass fishing. And we're going to put all these ads in front of you to our friends who are also in the corporate business world. I mean, that's what they're doing. Yeah. This is how things work. With insurance companies, car insurance, they want to give you a 10 or 20% discount if you let them track you. And if you do that, you're basically saying, yeah, you can basically do for me what my car would be doing for me. So why do they give me a 20% discount if they let me track them? Why would they give me a 20% discount if I let them track me? It's not really to show that I'm a safe driver. A safe driver means I don't get in wrecks. And as long as I don't file for a wreck, I'm a good driver, as far as they're concerned. What it is it allows them to sell my data. So they're making a profit off of me and giving me a 10% kickback. That's what's happening. Anyway, the idea of robots here, I'm kind of getting far from Isaac Asimov's stories. I won't go through all of them. I just want to give a few of them. The second story is called Robbie. So Isaac Asimov, I, Robot. The second story is called Robbie. And this is a non-speaking robot named Robbie. And this, I'm going to call it a he, just for the sake of ease. He, the robot, is a nursemaid to a young girl named Gloria. And her mother, Gloria's mother, fears that the robot is having too much influence on the child because Gloria is extremely attached to the robot. She can't be without the robot. And I thought this is like the Instagram epidemic, the TikTok epidemic for young girls that's been going on in the 20-teens till today, that it's really damaging them and they can't have a conception even of themselves, of the world, apart from the hive mind, the herd mentality of approval or disapproval, bullying, making people feel terrible if you don't measure up to what you see there. It's really damaging, the technology, and it's addicting, specifically to young women.
It's also a social crutch.
Yes.
Think of what, like with this little girl, was she going to take it to college with her,
Right. She couldn't do without it.
Wow.
They had basically had to kind of fake it as though the robot had to go away for defective purposes. But even then, the daughter was distraught that the robot was gone. And eventually they allowed the robot to come back, and the robot proved his loyalty to the mother, who's basically the mother was the one that was most concerned in this story. And the dad put him into this situation where the robot saved the daughter, and the mother's like, okay, he's a good robot, I'll let him stay because he saved my daughter. So anyway, girls on social media today are pulled by algorithms and mentally dependent and unwell. And the girl in this story, she never saw the robot, as a machine, but as a friend.
Yeah, we've mentioned that before, the differences. Like, we grew up without smartphones, but there will be a generation, like there is a generation that has.
Right.
Just like with robots.
Yeah.
Her parents didn't grow up with robots,
right.
but she did. So she sees it.
Right. And if you take the phone away from the child, you see videos like this where the people, they mentally break down. It's as though you took away part of themselves, their soul or something. They can't function. They shake.
Right.
It's really terrible. I guess boys have this too in their own way, maybe with video games or something. But particularly, this story was of a girl, so it just made me think of the girls.
Yeah, there's almost like a technologically induced autism. You know, like it puts this social disability on you. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a few funny stories here. One of them is that there's a politician in the future who's accused of being a robot.
Oh my.
He's accused of being a robot, and he faces public scrutiny. And in order to prove his humanity, he eats something in front of everyone, and later he strikes one of his human hecklers. So someone comes to heckle him and mock him, and he punches the guy, proving that he's not a robot, because a robot can't violate the first law. Well, there's a funny skit I watched that from a comedian, not me. I didn't make this up. But the comedian is saying AI has rules that it abides by. Like, you can't get it, for instance, to say unsavory words that you shouldn't say today. Okay, so it won't, for instance, say hate words against Jews. It won't say praiseworthy words toward people that you shouldn't praise. It won't say the N word, and that's interesting. It's got some laws that it abides by. There's also the problem of deep fakes today, where you can make videos of people saying things, and it looks very real. It's starting to look real. The only real way in the future to prove you're not an AI
But nobody needs a code word anymore. Like, we all have it. We know what to say.
The special code word in the future, like when two people are walking in the dark future of the wars between the robots and the humans, when two real humans meet each other, we have to say the code word.
2 H's.
What's the code word? It has to be something that AI couldn't say. What is that?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying what those words are.
No.
This story shows, it's called Evidence, the chapter called Evidence. Robots, in his story, but AI today, they're bound by rules. The only way to tell advanced robots or AI from humans, or from a human voice, a human piece of art, a video, is to say or do something that the robot or the AI can't do. That's the only thing you can do today to prove that it's human. This is why, by the way, I like to listen to audiobooks on YouTube. There's a lot of audiobooks for free. So many of them now are AI.
Oh.
You have to go before, I think, 2019 or something, or thereabouts, to get an actual human voice. Because around the late 2010s, AI began to come, and people used it to basically just automate the reading of books. So if you want an actual human voice reading a book, you have to go before that. And I find that actual human voices are better because there's flaws. And the flaws allow you to pay more attention. The cadence is disrupted. There's breathing. There's all kinds of things that the AI can't fully replicate, and it just sounds monotonous. It's the same thing with videos. A lot of videos on Instagram and elsewhere, it's AI-generated content. And so, in other words, I'm saying is there's a premium on human, real content. So even us doing this book podcast that we have, it's not the most fantastic podcast ever. We're just talking about books, but it's real humans. Well, in the future, though, the only way you can prove that you're a real human is to do something like punch a human, because the AI won't do it. The robot won't do it. Another one that's kind of funny, but it's a little far-fetched. It's the chapter called Reason. Basically, there are two men on a space station. with a robot named QT1. They call him cute. They call him Cutie. Cutie. Basically, the way that Earth gets energy in the future is through these solar stations positioned on planets everywhere that gather solar energy and reflect it back to Earth in some usable form. I don't know. So they have these outposts. And the outposts are being converted from being manned to being roboted, essentially. So these men are sent there with a robot to basically oversee other robots and man the whole station. But Cutie develops a sort of conscience, like a moral, religious conscience somehow that like got into his code or into his mind somehow, because they give these robots minds. And he starts to see the station's power source. Cutie starts to view the station's power source as a god. They call him the creator. And humans, he thinks, are inferior. He starts to reason. The chapter is called Reason. He begins to reason, you guys can't survive out here without extreme amounts of help. This whole station doesn't need any of this, human stuff for me to be here. I don't need food. I use electricity. It's extremely efficient. You guys have to eat this spongy stuff called sandwiches, and you have to sleep, and you have conflicts, and you're easily destroyed. I am made of steel. I'm strong. I'm superior to you, and it's clear, he says, that inferior things can't create superior things to themselves. We can't create something greater than ourselves. God can't create something greater than himself. That's just not how it works. And so he says, there's no way that I came from you, that you made me as you claim. Anyway, he starts to think, the only thing out here that's greater than me is the power source of this space station. And he begins to worship it as a god, as the creator, essentially.
Think of how humanistic that is, though. Because he was clearly, he was an atheist.
Yeah.
He did not believe in God. Think about what that's saying. It's like an attack against God. Look at what we have done. Mm-hmm. This is so great. There's no way that this God, which he views as lesser, could have done this. Because, like, in Asimov's mind, he does not have respect for God.
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean is this God of religion could never have made man, because we've surpassed God.
Yeah.
God is dead. We've left him behind.
Yeah.
Look how far we've come.
Yeah. A point that I got from it was that having the wrong metaphysics can still produce practical results. So the robot was extremely efficient in its job. Mm-hmm. It did an amazing job. It performed better than the humans, and it really showed the humans that they are unfit to be out there. Even though the humans were right that, no, we made you, we mm-hmm. created you. And the robot thought that this space station was all that there was to existence, because he's never seen anything else, and everything else could be an illusion out there. There's planets floating millions of miles away. That's ridiculous. This is all that's real. So the robot was wrong about his metaphysics, about who created him, what the purpose of life was. However, he was still able to practically function. So you can have the wrong metaphysics and still be able to get on in life and produce things mm-hmm. and make things. Like the Romans could make beautiful aqueducts and temples and conquer other peoples and be wrong about divinity, be wrong about the core purpose of humans and life. All right, I'll just talk about one last one real quick. It's called Liar. And essentially a robot gains telepathic abilities. He can perceive what people are thinking and feeling. And he, abiding by the first law, he begins to lie to people in order to avoid hurting their feelings.
Oh my goodness.
Because he can see inside of the humans essentially what they're thinking and feeling. And he knows that telling them some truths hurts them. And the first law says don't hurt anybody. And so he doesn't want to cause emotional turmoil, and he begins to lie. This is how I see a lot of the more feminine or matriarchal forms of leadership in government, even domestically or institutionally, like at churches or something. You'll have people who don't want to tell the truth because it's offensive. It hurts people's feelings, and we shouldn't harm anyone. It's the libertarian principle, the liberal principle of no harm.
Yeah, I think this is how effeminate men lead. Because they're afraid of the women, mm-hmm. they will not say anything that will cause them hurt or pain. Not because they don't want to hurt them.
Well, it could come from cowardice. It could come from cowardice, but it could also be a principle. This is what the book is saying. It's actually a principle the no harm principle, the no aggression principle of the libertarian or the classical liberal mind. Never do another person harm. This is like the first principle of a human philosophy called liberalism.
Wow, and they've made Jesus that person.
Never do anyone harm. And so anything that's acceptable, you can do anything in life you want to do, so long as you don't harm anybody else. You can do anything at all, live any direction or way you want, so long as you don't do harm. Well, emotions are also something that can be harmed. And if telling the truth to someone harms their emotions, then we shouldn't tell the truth to them. We should lie. We should tell this benevolent lie. It's called a noble lie. Plato actually talked about this in his book, The Republic. You have to tell a lie to all the people to keep them peaceful. Because if they knew the truth about the gods or something, they knew the truth about their origins, they would go crazy. If they knew the truth about where all our tax money is going, or what's actually in the water supply, or whatever it is, they would go crazy. So we have to lie to them and tell them, no, this war isn't for oil. This war isn't for Israel. This war is for freedom.
Right.
It's for American principles. That's what this war is about. Or this trade deal that we just made isn't going to bring in hundreds of millions of foreigners. It's not going to change the landscape of America. This is actually for the farmers. It's for the yeomanry. It's for the stay-at-home parents. It's for when in reality, it's for corporate interests. It's for their transnational friends, whatever.
Yeah, we see this with men and women too. The men who tell the women lies for ulterior reasons.
Yeah.
It's like the Fleetwood Mac song, Tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies.
Yeah. So it brings up questions like, what does it mean to do no harm? To always make people feel good? Is that what it means? Does it mean to tell them lies, to flatter them? Emotional abuse is a phrase today that has legal backing.
Ouch.
Cultural, institutional force. If you're emotionally abusive to your wife, churches will come down on you and shame you and chase you around and make you get up in front of everybody and do moral gymnastics and apologies. They will. I have several good friends whose wives left them because of emotional abuse, quote unquote, which is completely unprovable. There's no evidence other than just self-report. It's a self-report. And you just have to believe that that's what this person says is true. This person did me harm. It's on par with physical abuse, which you can see. You can put a camera or you can look at bruises or something. Emotional abuse, though, it's the same level. Anyway, when it's at a social level, though, a civilizational level, it becomes that noble lie. Like we have to lie to people to keep them indoors, make sure that they're safe. We have to lie to people and tell them that this is good for them because we don't want to hurt their feelings, letting them know that it's actually bad. This is like in the movie Men in Black. Have you ever seen that with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones?
A long time ago, yeah.
Men in Black. It's a fantastic movie. It's ridiculous, but there's aliens in the universe everywhere, and they're coming to Earth all the time and doing stuff. And when Will Smith gets indoctrinated into the Men in Black, program, he realizes there are aliens about to destroy planet Earth. And Tommy Lee Jones takes him aside and says, yes, it's always about to happen. But we can't let everybody know because they would go crazy. It would be bedlam and anarchy immediately. They have to be ignorant of this. And if they ever find out they have that little flash pen thing, they make you forget everything you just saw. Basically, it's a noble lie.
Wow.
So that you're not emotionally in turmoil. You're at peace. So the first law of never harming a human is not just a robot law. It's a law that's embedded in Western civilization at this point because of liberalism. The worst thing you can do is harm someone or coerce someone or do violence against someone. So does that include internal stuff?
Wow. Yeah, that's in the movie. The book. I think it's a book, The Giver.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
And there's a scene where the boy finally grows up and he's going to become the new giver. And he learns that the last rule is you may lie. And he's shocked by this and he's realizing how many lies have I been told? How much have I been coddled away from actually learning the real hard truth? And it turns out that the whole society is one big lie. He has to escape it and actually learn the truth. But that's what the whole thing was to protect them from the hard truth.
Right. Yeah, telling lies as protection. Doing no harm.
Yeah.
Sometimes harm is good, though.
Right.
Like when a surgeon has to cut you open and do harm or set your bone again. I've had broken bones and I had them set. I distinctly remember when the doctor set my bone, it hurt worse than when it broke.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
it hurt worse, significantly worse than when it broke. And I remember too, I don't remember which arm exactly now, but one of them is not set perfectly because I broke it. And then I went to the doctor and they set it back. I mean, it was broken, like bent.
Oh.
And when they set it, it hurt so bad. And then it started to heal for like a few weeks. And then they looked at it again and said, oh, we didn't set it right, we have to do it again. And I said, I was like 12. And I distinctly remember, like, I will fight you in this office, right? You're not going to do that. We're going to leave it as it is. I mean, you can't tell, it's fine today, but there's like a little bump somewhere where it's not perfectly set. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, my point is, he has to do harm to me to heal me.
Mm-hmm.
When Gabe, in fact, I remember distinctly earlier in life, one of my friend's young sons had a splinter and we had to harm him to get it out. And I told him, I said, buddy, this is going to hurt, but I got to do it to get it out. And once it's out, it won't hurt anymore. And he was young. He was 2 years old or something. I remember him crying and I was like, I'm sorry, buddy, but it's got to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to harm you to heal you. Telling you the truth sometimes is harmful. It hurts, but it's good for you.
Yeah. That would be an interesting thought experiment, to have a robot as a doctor and how he handles all of those situations that will come up.
Yeah. They have to give him a new set of protocols or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Isaac Azimov. We read Foundations, the first book. It's a trilogy, and we read I, Robot. They're pretty good. The stories themselves, as far as a narrative goes, aren't the best, but the thinking that you do as you read it is really, really good.